I'm almost 45 years old. Today, my age stopped when the hearts of more than 100 children stopped beating. I see no sense in life if it cannot stop the death.
That is a bit of President Volodymyr Zelenskyy of Ukraine addressing Congress just before we went live today, talking there about the continued deaths of civilians, advocating for his country in the best way that he knows how. He did have a lot more to say. We want to give you a bit more of that here.
And this is my main mission as the leader of my people, great Ukrainians. And as the leader of my nation, I'm addressing the President Biden. You are the leader of the nation, of your great nation. I wish you to be the leader of the world. Being the leader of the world means to be the leader of peace. Thank you. Slava Ukraini.
So in addition to what you saw there, he also played a video that had been put together of attacks on a number of different cities in Ukraine, showing civilians trying to flee the area. It was powerful stuff, but as you can probably tell from that last clip, he wasn't just giving an update, he was advocating for continued US help, but also more US help, getting more directly involved, including continuing to call for a no-fly zone. He said he was very thankful for what the US has done, but he wants a no-fly zone. He also wants the US to facilitate the Polish transfer of Soviet-era MiG fighter jets, both of which the United States has refused to do so far. They've said that those are lines that they're not willing to cross. Zelenskyy also called for additional sanctions on Russia, including targeting members of the Kremlin. Obviously, some of that has already happened. He believes that there is more that could be done there. And so Rashad, this is where it gets into a little bit difficult territory. Like, everybody feels compassion for what's going on there and wants as much help as possible. But I think we all largely agree there are certain lines that could plausibly lead to a much wider conflict if the US were to cross it. What do you think?
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. So let's look at what's happening. And I draw some wisdom from Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., who said that anytime America is engaged in international conflict, it desensitizes Americans to domestic issues, where those issues take a back burner to the actual war or the pending war that's in front of us. So that's one truth that we must always remember. Ukraine is being attacked unlawfully. I feel for the people in Ukraine. I also feel for the Russians, not the leadership, but the majority of Russian citizens who do not agree with this invasion and who are risking not only their lives, but obviously their freedom to make sure that their proclamation is known. They don't know what we know. We take for granted, John, that people in Russia are able to know everything that we know. They're not. They are intentionally left in the dark. Their information is manipulated so that there can be a sales pitch. I actually agree with what our Ukrainian leader has done in this context. There's always a pitch when it comes to war. There's a sales pitch, and then there's a rebuttal. He's trying to make the rebuttal, and this is all waged in the parameters of our thinking. He wants to popularize his point of view in the international context. That's a good strategy, because war is as much about how we think about war as what we do in the implementation of it.
Yeah, and we're in such a weird position because as we've been breaking down, developments every day here, and there are a ton of things that the US apparently can plausibly do to help in Ukraine that seem like, if you're gonna have a category of things that we would do that Russia would then interpret as a direct act of war, like the fact that transferring the planes to Poland and then them transferring it wouldn't be a provocation, although Poland disagrees with that, or sending thousands of rocket launchers in, that's not a provocation. But like if we were to directly transfer the planes, that would be. For a lot of regular people, I think it is difficult to understand exactly why the lines are drawn in the way that they are. But it appears that the lines have been drawn that way.
And Russia did it. Russia supplied weapons to other nations that went to war with us. They had no problem doing that, while saying at the same time they were not engaged with conflict in America.
Yeah, it just always struck me as weird that you can like hand over a rocket launcher, but you can't pull the trigger.
Right.
And I get that's where we've landed. But it is a difficult thing because people feel a lot of compassion for what's happening right now. But if what's happening right now, the war is a bad thing, a far wider war with a nuclear power, a lot scarier perhaps than what we're seeing right now. Now, I want to give you a little bit more of President Zelensky's comments. He says, remember Pearl Harbor, the terrible morning of December 7th, 1941, when your sky was black from the planes attacking you. Remember September 11th, a terrible day in 2001, when evil tried to turn your cities, independent territories into battlefields, when innocent people were attacked from the air. Our country is experiencing the same every day right now at this moment. Every night for 3 weeks now, Russia has turned the Ukrainian sky into a source of death for thousands of people. And so that's difficult stuff. And like, I think this is his best bet to try to change people's minds. But it is a difficult ask to draw the US into something that could be far wider, that could end up pulling in other NATO countries. They have thousands of weapons of mass destruction. It's terrifying stuff. I get Zelensky's position, but a wider war hardly seems like it's in anyone's interest.
Yeah, I agree with you. And that's Zelensky trying to make a case, obviously, in the minds and hearts of individuals who may watch that. Remember, he has a background in media, so he understands messaging. I'm surprised he did not do this earlier. He took a very different tone in the beginning of this conflict. But let's be very clear. A few decades ago, this would have been a no-brainer for other nations to get involved immediately into direct conflict with Russia. That has now changed. The sentiment of war has changed, and here's why. We look at the outcome. And the outcome for a full engagement with Russia means a whole lot of people in America and other nations are going to be dead. That is going to be the outcome. Now, we understand the assault on democracy, and it is a violation of international law. But none of these countries have clean hands, John, not even the United States of America. So we're really talking about bad guys against worse guys is the scenario here. And if we can continue a diplomatic protocol as it relates to our engagement with Russia, weaken their military capabilities because of that diplomatic protocol, and continue to double down on the sanctions, not only of Vladimir Putin and his cronies, but also those that empower him, you may have an outcome that is a peaceful outcome, or more peaceful than going into full warfare.
And that has been the goal from the very beginning, just hoping that whatever it is that is done pushes Russia in a position where they feel like some sort of cessation of hostilities is in their best interests. And I think that while I disagree with what Biden has done in virtually every other area of his presidency, generally in this area, it seems like that's what he is actually working towards, not getting us involved in a full-fledged, World War III with Russia. The economic damage that Russia is suffering, there are certainly side effects of that I think are terrible. The idea that regular Russian citizens, many of whom are protesting against this, will be affected, that bothers me profoundly. But Russia has to feel like they have more to gain by ending this war than by continuing it. And if we can't, and I think we can all agree, we cannot get to that point by sending tons of M1s, over the border or something like that, then Ukraine holding out militarily while we put pressure on them diplomatically and financially, that's the best way to get to that. And even Zelensky now says, as of this morning, that Russian peace talk positions are moving in a more realistic direction. And why not? They are not accomplishing their goals, certainly not at the pace that they thought. The protests continue, their stock market is decimated. Like Putin is going to put forward a strong face and everything, but he doesn't want this thing to continue any more than anybody else, I would have to imagine.
Right, and there's a risk reward calculation. And getting into this, I'm sure Vladimir had a different risk reward calculation than what he is currently experiencing. A report came out just a few days ago. They're trying to get financial remedy from China. Yep. Well, that means that they did not calculate the impact of severe sanctions this quickly. Maybe they did calculate it, but they definitely did not calculate that it would have this level of devastation this soon.
Yeah, definitely not. And they might not have known that the US would go so far with their sanctions, that other countries would join in. Not in every way, especially in terms of oil imports. Like there's a lot of Europe that still, isn't in a position to deny that. But and it's continuing. It's risky. It's risky for Biden too. It's risky for some of those other countries in Europe. But I think they've been trying to walk a very careful line and doing a pretty good job of it.
Check out the Damage Report podcast each day, wherever you get your podcasts, whether Pocket Casts or Stitcher or iTunes. You can join me as I give you the news and stories you want, with a range of co-hosts and interview guests jumping in on the fun each day. Again, that's the Damage Report, wherever you get your podcasts. And if you get them at iTunes, don't forget to rate and review. Sometimes I'll read them live on the show.